Okay, so this is page 109, lesson 3.8. It says Kevin's family took 239 photos on their summer vacation. Marco and his family took 12 times as many photos on their vacation. How many photos did Marco's family take? And it says solve this problem any way you choose. Well, simply put, 239 multiplied by 12, and you'll get your answer. And then it says, how can you use an equation to model the situation with the math? This technically is not an equation, and some of you already recognize that. So an equation would be 239 times 12 equals. So technically that's an equation. So when they ask you to do an equation, this is the way you want to set them up. And down below it says, how can you use estimation to tell if your answer is reasonable? Well, before we even do any calculations for the equation, right here, we could look at 239 and we look at 12. Well, I could turn 12 into 10. 239, well, we could call it 250. And then 10 times 250, that's going to be 250, and then add a 0. So 2,500 would be our estimation. And so if your answer up here is close to 2,500, then you know you probably have it right. Okay. Next page, page 110. They give you an example there. And it says in 1980 a painting sold for $1,575. Years later, in fact 35 years later, the same painting sold for 5 times as much. What was the price of the painting in 2015? And so it says you can draw a bar diagram, and so they've done that down below. There's a 1980 price, and the 2015 price is 5 times as much. And so that's one way you could solve it. Here they've done an equation, and pay attention to this here. In the equation, they're using a letter, P for price, okay? And that's okay, and you guys probably want to get in that habit. I didn't do that here, I probably should. I'm going back to the first page. 239 times 12 equals, and I'll put a letter to represent whatever the answer is going to be. And somebody said G. I'm not sure why G. Just because?
Just a letter.
Just a letter. It could be any letter. You're going to find in 6th grade, 7th grade, and 8th grade, they're going to be using letters a lot more often. And the letters usually represent kind of what you're looking for. On the previous page, it was P for photos. Oh, I'm sorry, it wasn't P for photos. What was it? Yeah, P for price. Thank you. On this page here, we could also use P for photos. That's fine. But, you know, really any letter is sufficient. So back to this page, they show you the steps on how they do it. So P equals 7,875. And it says, how can you use estimation to justify that 7,875 is reasonable? Well, let's see here. Estimation. This would be kind of hard to estimate. I suppose you could make this into simply 1,500. I'm not sure how you would estimate 5, but here's one way I would do it. What's 1,500 multiplied by 2 equal? Some of you know right off the top of your head it's 3,000. Okay? And so 3,000 plus 3,000 is what? 6,000. 6,000 plus 1,500 is 7,500. And I just did all that in my head. And so there's my estimation going by 5 times. And so, you could write down here 1,500 1,500 plus 1,500 equals 3,000. And then, so that's 2 times. So then I could do 3,000. Adding those together is 6,000. And then adding another 1,500, which is what I did up above mentally, is 7,500. And so there's my estimation. And that is pretty close to the answer they got. And so you know it would be correct. But this was all an example. So let's start looking at some of the problems here. That looks kind of blurry. Let me fix that. Number 1, it says write a real-world problem that uses multiplication and then draw a bar diagram to write an equation to solve your problem. Guess what? You don't have to do number 1. Because I'll get, 60 different answers, and I'm not interested in grading 60 different answers. All right. I'm turning my book here. Okay, shh. All right, number 2 says Sharon's stationery store has 1,219 boxes of cards. May's Market has 3 times as many boxes of cards. How many boxes of cards does May's Market have? I'll let you figure that one out. That's pretty easy to do. Number 3 here, it says there are 14 theaters at the mall. Each theater has 175 seats. How many seats are there in all? Well, you could you could do 175. Let me see here. 175 plus 175 plus 175, and you could do that and then add them up. But that's kind of the long way around the barn. I think I would just do 175 times what? Times 14. All right. Number 4, down at the bottom of the page, it says Brad lives 12 times as far away from the ocean as Janine. If she lives 48 miles from the ocean, how many miles from the ocean does Brad live? 48. Whoops. How did I get 14? 48 times 12. All right, that'll answer that question. Number 5. A hardware store ordered 13 packs of nails from a supplier. Each pack contains 155 nails. How many nails did they order? So 155 times 13. Okay. Next page. Algebra. Boy, I love teaching algebra.
I love algebra.
Okay. Sandy's school has 1,030 students. Carla's school has 3 times as many students. Write an equation to find S, that's the number of students, in Carla's school. Then solve your equation. Well, so they did a bar graph just to kind of show you, but the equation would simply be 1,030 times 3 equals, and you could put S for the number of students. So there's your equation. And then it says to solve it. So I'll just put answer equals, and I'm just going to draw a box here, and you put the answer right there. Number 7. It says Jupiter is about 5 times the distance the Earth is from the Sun. The Earth is 93 million miles from the Sun. About how far is Jupiter from the Sun? Okay, so in other words, Jupiter is 5 times farther. That's what they're saying. And they want to know how much further it is. So what are you going to have to do? You're going to have to multiply 93 million times 5 equals, I'm going to put D for distance. Now, that's an equation. They didn't ask us to do one, but I just did it. So you guys are going to have to figure that one out for yourselves. All right. So I know you guys can't figure these out while I'm doing them here. I'm just showing you the steps to solve them. Number 8, higher order thinking. It says William travels only on Saturdays. Okay, and on Sundays. So he only travels Saturdays and Sundays and has flown 1,020 miles this month. Jason travels every weekday, so that would be Monday through Friday. Those are weekdays. And if each man travels about the same number of miles each day, who travels more miles per day for this month? Explain. Well, they're not asking you to calculate anything. Look at the question. If each man travels about the same number of miles each day, who travels more miles per day for this month? Explain. It is obvious, isn't it? I think it's obvious. Hopefully it is to all of you too. So William is the answer. Then it says explain. Because he only travels 2 days a week. So he must travel more on those 2 days. Because if they travel about the same each month, obviously William, only traveling 2 days a week, must travel more for his 2 days than Jason does on his 5 days, Monday through Friday. So the answer is William, and then this is the explained part, because he only travels 2 days a week, so he must travel more on those 2 days. Okay? Let's look at number 9. Make sense and persevere. I guess that's Wong. I think the H is silent. Can fit 12 packets of coffee in a small box and 50 packets of coffee in a large box. Okay, so I'm going to just put 12 packets, small box, 50 packets, large box, kind of underlining the pertinent information. He has 10 small boxes of coffee and would like to reorganize the packets into a large box. How many large boxes could he fill? Explain. How many large boxes could he fill? Explain. So there's 2 things we have to do. So first off, 12 packets, and he has 10 small boxes. So what is 10 times 12 equal? That's 120 packets. And then it says, how many large boxes could he fill? Well, a large box holds 50 packets. How many 50s will fit into 120? I see several hands up. You guys recognize it. It's going to be 2. So 2 large boxes. And I could even put with 20 left over. Okay? So I'm going to let you guys answer 10 and 11 on your own. Let's see, double check it. Martin ran 108 miles last year. She ran 13 times as many miles. Yeah, you can do that one. And 11, the Erie Shoe Factory makes 245 pairs of shoes a day. Columbus Shoe Factory, 34 times as many. How many pairs of shoes does the Columbus Shoe Store Factory make in a day? Yeah, you guys can do those on your own. Okay, so that is your classwork / homework for today. I want you guys to finish all of 3-8, and then we're going to grade one of those pages tomorrow. And then hopefully we'll have time for some Quizlet or something later this afternoon. Let me end this.